Von Booker, and we have Mr. Lester Wiltfong Jr. returning per usual. Lester, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you?
Man, I don't know how I'm doing after what we saw last Monday night. Obviously that's why we're here, but I'm still trying to recover from that, Lester, because we had it in the bag, young man. We had it in the bag. Other than that, I'm good. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, it's a rough one, man. Like we talked last week. I figured it'd be a close game. I thought the Bears had enough to kind of pull it out and win by a small margin.
Hmm.
So like if you like scale back right and just look at the numbers, look at the score, you're like, man, the Bears hung with a 14 win team.
Hmm.
The Bears were the Bears lost by 3. You know what I mean? So it's like just the way the game script went, that's what makes
Hmm.
fans so upset about because they had, like you said, they had it, man. They were up by like 17. They were up 2 scores.
Hmm.
They left some points in the field by a missed field goal. There was another time where they passed up a field goal shot where it was like a chip shot.
Hmm.
Just they'll get better. I went back and looked at Ben Johnson's first year calling plays in Detroit, and Jared Goff had a bad game. The Lions
Hmm.
lost. The Lions lost, I think, 6 or 7 of their first 8 games. So
Hmm.
it's a work in progress. They're asking him to do a lot. So this team will look better in a month.
Of course, of course. Before I get ready to dive into the questions that I have for you, young man, I have a question the questions. Why did
Nice.
the defense look so good for them having those players out that they had out? Obviously, no Kyler Gordon, you had no TJ Edwards, you had no Jalen Johnson still, but they still were able to even get a pick six. They had JJ McCarthy looking really rookie-ish those first 3 quarters.
When you play guys like Noah Sewell, Nashawn Wright, Nick McLeod, guys that you're not expecting to play a lot of snaps, they, they can kind of run on adrenaline, right? Starting off and make some good plays.
Hmm.
But as the game wears on, a good coach will find those mismatches, and that's kind of what we saw happen there. We kind of saw, look, the Vikings are a good team. I know a lot of Bears fans say, "Oh, the Vikings were a fraud last year; they're missing their quarterback," but that is a very well coached team. They put a lot of money into that D line. They brought in
Hmm.
a couple new defensive tackles who had both had really good games. And look, the head coach is outstanding. So that's a good team. The Bears hung with them. Let's just turn the page because there's another good team coming up
Of
on
course.
Sunday.
Of course. And speaking of defense, it looks like we're getting Jalen Johnson and TJ Edwards
Yes.
back. I did say Kyler Gordon was still ruled out, so he won't play. But how big is that to get a guy like Jalen Johnson and TJ Edwards back as we head to Detroit?
Yeah, Jalen mentioned that week 1 he said never really seemed like he was going to play. His
Hmm.
target was always week 2, so that kind of tells you that he knows his body, right? The Bears know his body, so the fact he's coming back, maybe he'll be on a pitch count, maybe he won't be able to play the full game, but man, we're talking about a 2-time Pro Bowler. They need him out there because he's just one of the Bears' best defensive players. And then with T.J. Edwards, very active, right? He plays that weak side / Mike because we kind of saw him do both. Kind of saw Tremaine Edmonds do both kind of in the game, which I was a little surprised about. Just kind of it's where he lines up. It's kind of give them different options. So I think it's gonna be good to get a more experienced player out there. It wasn't like Sewell had an awful game, but like I
Hmm.
said, he was much better earlier than he was later. So I think getting a veteran out there like with TJ, I think is gonna be good for that defense.
Of course, of course. And obviously, it looks like we're going to get Roshan Johnson back on the offensive side of the ball.
Yes,
Wha-
yes.
How does that do us any good? Because it kind of looked like they went ghost on the run game. And I'll say this because after the second half, they come out, they grow 3 straight pass plays, and they gain 0 yards. And I'm like, well, you already have the lead. Why are you not playing to manage the lead and manage the game? Why not open it up with a couple of runs and get some positive yards or at least attempt to get positive yards? What were your thoughts on that, Lester?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, there's a difference in being an offensive coordinator and being a head coach that also calls plays. So Ben Johnson, like he admitted, because if that would have happened in Detroit, let's say he got away from the run, he's got
Hmm.
his head coach in his ear. Hey man, get your ass back to the run. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you're the head coach, there's no one in your ear telling you that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, his OC can kind of remind him, hey, we haven't really run the ball. Maybe we should get back to that. But at the end of the day, it's his call. So he talked about it in his press conference. He was asked about the running game, and he said, I thought we ran the ball pretty good in spurts. He said he got away from it, and he said he will fix that moving forward. I think getting Kyle Monangai He played a little bit, no carries. You said Roshan Johnson is back. That gives you
Hmm.
kind of two different change of pace from DeAndre Swift.
Hmm.
And look, you're playing in a hostile environment. That's going to be a playoff atmosphere in Detroit.
Of course, of
Those
course,
fans hate Ben Johnson. It's they want to beat the Bears bad. It's already a rivalry game, but now you
of
got Ben
course.
Johnson in the mix. He's good friends with Dan Campbell. They want to beat the Bears bad. They're coming off a terrible game against the Packers.
So they're hungry.
Desperation for the Lions. So what should the Bears do? Run the ball, slow it down, make it boring, eat the clock, keep it close. So I think you may see more running game here.
Of course, of course, and that was the thing too that I saw that Amon-Ra St. Brown said that they're going to boo him as soon as he touches
Yeah.
the turf and all of that fun stuff, which we don't care about that. Obviously, we face those week in and week out. But my thing is, for them to be able to respect the run game, the pass game, excuse me, you have to open it up with the run game, especially if you want to do these play actions and you want to roll Caleb Williams out. You got to keep the defense honest by giving them those runs and running the ball because obviously they're not going to know what to expect. If they know that you guys aren't running the ball, you're obviously going to go out and pass. Like just like when they throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage on the wide receiver screens. If I can sense that coming from the couch, I'm pretty sure these competent defensive players can sense that coming out as well too.
Yeah, it's all about the deception. You want to make sure you give a good play fake. You want to make sure your offensive line are in unison. A
Mhm,
lot of the play action stuff is just it's how it looks. And look, week one, you're asking all these guys to execute. Look, they talked a lot about how Caleb Williams had a bunch of stuff put in his lap, right, during training camp. Well, the
mhm.
same goes for the entire offense. They put a lot on these guys. You got an O line playing together for the first time, so maybe some of their steps were in unison. Maybe maybe they one of them was a little too high, so the keys from the defense now are a little easier to read because you know what's coming. So again, the offense will get better as the games progress here during the first season under Ben.
And that's really what I just hope it is, and that's what I'm gonna charge it to, Lester. Because obviously it was week one. We saw a lot of good teams lose. We saw the Chiefs lose. We saw the Ravens lose. We saw a couple the Raiders. We saw a couple teams lose. So it's like it's only week one. You can't really tell who's good or not really until you get midway through the season because obviously injuries happen. We still haven't seen a lot of injuries. We've seen a couple yet. So you just have to let the season naturally progress. Is what I've been telling my fans.
I mean, you got to. I mean, at this point early in the season, like we talk about in the offseason, it's like this is the time that we can be hopeful as a fan base. Like I said, they hung with the Vikings, who are a very good football team, and
Mhm.
they got another good team this week. So if they look a little better and they still come off with the L, I think as fans we got to be a little patient. I know fans don't want to hear that. They got the generational quarterback. They have the head coach that everyone wanted. They need to
Yeah.
win now. Well, that's not how this works. You know what I mean? So it's going to take a minute. The bye weeks after 4, so that's kind of a nice early bye for the Bears. They'll be able to reevaluate where they are, but I'm just looking for progress because I really believe in Ben Johnson as a play caller. I
Mhm.
believe in him. Just he just seems to get it, man. I mean, you watch that all 22, and there were concepts that I have not seen the Bears run in a long time. There were guys open
Mhm.
that you haven't seen from the Bears in a long time. And now look, it wasn't always pretty. I mean, there were some
Mhm.
times where there are guys in the same spot where you're not sure which receiver did something wrong, but someone did something wrong. So
Of
they're going to
course.
clean it up. 4 pre-snap penalties. Ben, of course, I'm sure he was pissed off about that. So they'll get this all cleaned up, and they'll be ready to go.
How much of a different game do you think it would have been if it weren't for the missed field goals and them not going for it on fourth down twice?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're right there. I mean, he passed up the one field goal try. I think it would have been like a 35 yarder, which Cairo can make that one.
Mhm.
There was also the challenge flag where
Mhm.
he admitted after the game that maybe he probably shouldn't have done that because he kind of listened to the guys around him, the guys up in the booth that were telling him, "Hey, don't challenge it." But then, of course, whoever's near him in his ear, challenge it, challenge it, he challenges. So he said he'll learn from that mistake. That was a game swing. Plus, I'm not trying to harp on the penalties, but come on, man, that Darnell Wright hold, that was
Man,
nothing.
that
The
ghost hold.
Yeah, it was just a ghost. It was phantom. Nothing was there. I mean, that really swung things. There was the pass interference play where the receiver fell down and then the
Yep.
Bears guy bumped him. Like, come on. Like some of these calls are just ridiculous. But look, the Bears lost all 4 phases of that game,
Mhm.
including the refs in that phase. So it happens.
Yeah, giving up 21 points in the fourth quarter is ridiculous as well too. That doesn't help us at all. But
Rough.
changing gears here, Lester, just tell us a little bit about the things that you did see from Caleb Williams, starting with the things that you thought that he did well and the things that you did like from seeing from the year two man.
10 for 10 to start the game. That's a career high for him. Played in time. He evaded pressure really well. I do the sack watch each week. I don't track pressures, but Pro Football Focus tracks pressures, and like everyone tracks pressures a little differently.
Hmm.
But they had 20 pressures on him in the game, and only two of those pressures were basically his fault. So the rest
Hmm.
were kind of just guys getting there quick, and it wasn't the best game from the O line. It wasn't the best game from the pass pro, but he evaded it well. He had some nice scrambles. He kept his eyes upfield. It kind of didn't work out in the second half as good as the first, but for like I said, for the first game in the offense, I thought he ran things pretty efficiently.
Of course, of course. What did you see from the offensive line?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, it seemed like they were just like I said. This is the first time playing together. I mean, Joe Thuney didn't play the entire preseason. They kind of only played the other few guys. Towards the last game. Braxton Jones, he still looks like he's not all the way back. That ankle's still bothering him. You can kind of see when he plays. Darnell Wright, I think he had two pre-snap penalties, but as far as his blocking go, he was on point. I mean, everything looked good from him. And Drew Dahlman gave up a sack, but these things happen. Like I said, the Vikings have a very good defensive fronts. Um, those two defensive tackles, man, those guys are beasts, and that's going to be really help that team throughout the year.
Of course, of course. Now, what were some things that you saw from the receivers that you liked so much? I did love how they were using Colston Loveland right out the gate. I like that. I feel like that first pass that he caught, if he did not bobble it, it would have been a first down right then and there because he like it was kind of behind him, so he didn't really have time to adjust before he made contact with the defender.
Yeah, I think we'll see more 12 personnel as the year goes on. I think they want to get Colson Loveland involved more. Cole Kmet was open a couple times and he was missed. He had the one nice catch, of course. DJ Moore, man, DJ Moore had a nice game. He only, I think, had three catches,
Hmm.
but he had like three or four carries out of the backfield. And then when you watched it all 22, he was open, right? He was open sometimes out there, but it just wasn't always the ball wasn't always coming out. Like I said, 20 pressures that were in his face pretty quick. So,
Hmm.
it's there for them. The offense. Roma Dunze obviously is a talent. You know, Zaki, I'm never going to butcher this guy's name forever. Olamande Zakayas. Come on,
Hmm.
give me that name. How you say it? Say it.
Olamide.
There it
Olamide.
is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he was pretty good there. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a talented offense. They just got to all come together.
Yep. Someone's in the comments saying Ben Johnson needs to stick to quick passing game and make it easy on Caleb and add design runs. How do you feel about that, Lester?
I like some designed runs. I mean, he looked fast, right? I mean, when you
Yeah.
watch him play, I mean, he was pretty fast last year. He didn't run at the combine, obviously, so no one knows what his 40 time is, but we saw it last year. He set the Bears rookie record for quarterbacks for rushing yards last year.
Hmm. Yeah.
He has wheels, so yeah, some design runs, maybe some read option, those kind of things help get a quarterback comfortable. They kind of get them settled down when it's just okay. I have one read, it's my read option. Here's my guy. If it's there, it's not. If it's there, run. Plus some RPO stuff also, where it's a quick read and then make a decision. So those kind of early quick game things get a quarterback in rhythm. And
Of
we kind
course.
of saw it against the Vikes, right? 10 for 10, most of them quick passes. So Ben will do that as the year goes on, and he'll add more to it as he goes.
Of course. Now, where are you at when it comes to like the media's debate on Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels? Because we see Jaden Daniels did not look
He's
the world's
rough.
greatest against the Packers. I mean, but here's the thing. This is why I hate when people love to move the goalposts. So it's like, okay, Jaden Daniels had a bad game. Well, he was playing the Packers. He was playing a really good defense. But when Caleb Williams plays or top five defense, top two defense, oh, he's not it. He's not sold on that guy. He's missing receivers, but Jaden Daniels gets no public criticism when he's missing receivers and all that.
Daniels has some goodwill built up because of his rookie year.
Uh
So
huh.
so so we're gonna see that. Kind of saw with CJ Stroud, right? CJ Stroud had an outstanding rookie season. Last year he was pretty bad, but you don't hear much about it. As the
Mm-mm.
year went on and he started playing, he is kind of bad. It took a while for the media to kind of catch up and say, okay, he's having a rough year. I think the same thing with Jaden Daniels will happen. But look, I think Daniels will bounce back pretty good. He's got a good play caller.
Hmm.
Again, we talk about a talented offense. He has some good, talented receivers. Zach Ertz is still at 34, 35 years old. He's still playing like a top tight end. So I think the Commanders will be okay, and Daniels will bounce back. But I agree, man. He was rough against the Packers, and he wasn't really that great against the Giants either.
Right, right, right. Well, that's the thing. People bounce back, but it's like I want other people to get the same criticism that Caleb Williams gets as well too.
Yeah,
Because if you put it into perspective, like people say he did not do good last year, look at the circumstance he was put in. Because we're so used to the great quarterbacks: Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott. Not saying he's a great, but I'm just using him for an example. These guys came into the league with an experienced veteran in front of them where they did not have to start. They got to learn the game and get the mentorship, whether the quarterback gave it to them or not. It was on them to take mental notes and watch this guy ahead of them. We're used to the quarterbacks getting drafted and being put in that circumstance as opposed to going in to save the franchise, especially a franchise like the Chicago Bears, who are known to never have good quarterbacks, never have adequate coaching, never throw the ball down the field, never have really good receivers. So it's like, when do we cut this guy some slack who made something out of nothing in his rookie debut?
everyone wants instant gratification, right? Everyone wants it, no matter what you are, no matter what it is. You're watching a movie, watching TikTok. That's why TikTok's so popular, man. I want to know what's going on now, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need right now. It's Look at Jaden Daniels. He had 5 years in college, right? He was a very experienced quarterback coming out, older rookie.
Mhm,
Caleb had three years and he was out. So you got to always look to that. Like, yeah, he's not sitting behind a guy with Jaden Daniels, but he was very experienced coming in. He's seen a lot of things.
mhm,
It's all you hear all coaches all the time talk about time on task. The more you're doing it, the more you're in it. The more experienced you are, the better you'll be. And Caleb just needs more time on task. I know. Again, fans don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear patience. But look, they should have fired Fluce's ass last year. They should have hired Ben Johnson last year. And
yeah.
then now we'll be year two of the Ben Johnson experience and things will be better. But the Bears, they Bears it up, right? They kept everyone around. We knew it was going to fail, and it
Mhm.
failed. So here they are trying to get a restart with Ben Johnson. It's going to take a minute. Hopefully by mid season we're seeing, yeah, this is it. This is the team. But like I said, whether whoever it is at quarterback, it don't matter to me because I believe Ben Johnson is the
Is that
guy
a
now.
Tyson Bagent nod? Is that a
No,
Tyson Bagent
I'm
nod?
just saying, like, look, it's on Ben. It's up to Ben to figure it out. I think if it's not Caleb, let's say it's not Caleb. I don't think it's Bajan either. I think that means Ben will gonna go get his guy at some
Uh-huh.
point.
Yeah.
But again, why did he come to Chicago? He said because of Caleb. So I
Yeah.
think he trusts and wants to do it.
So, ideally speaking, Lester, let's say this year doesn't work out. How long? What's the window you're giving Caleb Williams to be the guy for Chicago before Ben Johnson is ready to go get his guy?
Yeah, I think we got to kind of as fans. I mean, we saw it with Mitch, right? We saw it with Mitch. We saw it with Justin. 2 or 3 years in, about that third year, and fans started saying, you know, most fans are really impatient. For me, I was 3 years in. I'm like, okay, maybe this Mitch thing's not going to work.
Hmm.
Same with Justin. Okay, maybe this Justin thing's not going to work. And then, of course, they kind of had the first round pick fall in their lap. I mean, look, if they didn't get the first round pick in their lap, I think they would have just hung with Justin and just dealt with it until they figured
Hmm.
out a better option. But yeah, you got to give him time. I mean, like I said, Jaden Daniels had 5 years college before he came out. You know, if you look at as far as the offense goes, now Caleb is essentially in his fifth year of a high level of football because he had three at college, one last year, one this year. But it's Ben. So Ben Johnson's going to get it done, and I think he's going to be fine. And look, don't you clip up that small clip of me saying anything nice because I know how you guys do this, man. It's going to be all of a sudden, Lester says Bajent. No, no, no. Come on.
Oh my God! So headed into Detroit tomorrow, Lester. What's your expectations of this game? Who emerges victorious? What are your thoughts?
It's just such a big game for the Lions. So much emotion. Um, and look, they didn't look good against the Packers, but that's still a very good football team. Very well coached. My dog is an idiot. My dog agrees with me, I guess.
Uh
Shut up.
oh, he got my dog riled up now too.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the Bears lose. I think it'll be fairly close,
Come
but I think they're gonna drop.
on.
I know. I know.
So now we're gonna be 0-2.
Oh,
Lester,
and two. Yeah,
but
I know.
this has already been an excruciating week after just one loss at opener. Like the media has been dragging the Bears. We can't, Lester. Just please fix that. There's no way we're gonna be 0-2. That's gonna be two rough weeks for us now.
As long as the offense looks good, as long as they kind of make some strides. Like I said, man, the Vikes are good. Okay, Lions are better.
Hmm.
So the nice thing is Ben Johnson and a lot of his coaching staff knows what's going on over there. You know, they know those players, so they'll have that going for them. But yeah, I just think it's going to be it's going to be a rough one to kind of expect them to go to. Like I said, man, they're going to be pissed. That's going to be like playoffs for those
Hmm.
guys. You know, they hate. I don't know if you looked at stuff online, man. I mean, their fans have been like going at Ben Johnson hard all
Hmm.
off season. You know, they really have their chest puffed out, and you know, they the Lions are really chirpy, so they need this game bad.
What would have to happen just for the Bears to squeak by with a win?
Like I talked about, keep it close, run the ball really good. You know, if the Bears O line is moving people, you know, if that happens, if they can kind of keep things close, you know, get a lucky break here and there, a pick six possibly. You know, I know if Bears fans want to see something crazy happen, I don't think Ben Johnson to come out when they trick plays. I think he's going to be kind of play it really close, run the ball. Kyle Monangai, get him involved. You know, I think it's going to happen where you're going to see some 3 yards in a cloud of dust style of offense this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've unfortunately heard it here first on Barely Watch Podcast. It doesn't look too good for the Bears heading into Detroit tomorrow, but that's why they call it any given Sunday. So don't take my word, don't take Lester's word. We've both been wrong before in the past. Except
Yep.
Lester, he's always right. Lester has never been wrong. It's just me. But yeah, that was another amazing episode of Barely Watch Podcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Lester, thank you for having some time for us, sir.
Anytime, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.